Well, from this time, basically, I just started getting so involved with ministry. I started putting my full focus on God, God alone. I started reading more books, and one of the major books that blessed my life during the time, I think we had a ministry, it was a ministry called Young Women of Virtue. And I started participating in this ministry, and one of my mentors has been one of my mentors for years, since the children's choir, when I joined the second church in my childhood that allowed me to be a part of the choir. She basically helped me understand my role as a woman and as a wife, and she introduced a book by Stormy Morton called A Power of a Praying Wife. And when I thought I was going to open that book, I thought I was going to read about what he should do. But I learned about what I should be doing as a wife. And that's when God began to really show me. I started looking in the mirror of how he saw me, and started getting the confidence and the understanding of what it means to be a wife, and what it means to be a woman of God, and what it means to be an intercessor. All these different things that I was doing, but now having an understanding of the purpose in it all. And so I joined the prayer ministry. I joined the Young Women of Virtue ministry, the Young Adult ministry, all these different ministries to start really building my walk with God and my faith, and understanding of his word and serving his people. And so it gave me such honor and pleasure to know that even despite all the things that I've been through, in spite of everything, he still wanted to use me. He still wanted me to be a part of his awesome kingdom, to share his word and learn of him. And so by this time, I believe I was a part of the intercessory prayer team, and we would have corporate prayer, and I was called on to lead prayer in front of the entire congregation. Now here I am. I don't like being in the public eye. I'm cool behind the scenes. I'm cool in the cut. I can smile, laugh, have a good time, and serve without being seen, without anybody knowing who I am. But yet that's not what God had in mind. And I started getting involved in ministry, and meanwhile, I'm still dealing with the things in my marriage. I'm still dealing with things as a mom and all the demands and stresses with my family and things like that. However, I just totally put my focus on God, because that's where I found peace. That's where I found my joy. That's where I found solitude. That's where I found this complete wholeness of everything that I needed, everything I longed for. And God never failed me. And so even though man failed me, God never failed me. And so I was involved in ministry continuously, and then to a point where I believe my husband started despising how involved I was in ministry, because it was like, okay, that gave him, I guess, some excuses to continue to be unfaithful. They gave him, I guess, the avenue to have permission to do that. But I just still kept going, even though it hurt, even though I would cry myself to sleep many nights, even though there was so much verbal abuse, there was so much mental abuse, there was just so much of things, being told that I was overweight, or being treated like I was overweight, or being treated like I wasn't good enough, or I'm not that much of a good mom, and all these different things that I was told, and things that he expressed in so many words. I was already feeling like I was not enough, even from all the different and random women that he would be engaged with. And so that I believe, I'm saying like this, I believe that with all the pain, all the trauma, all the turmoil, it brought me closer to God. And it made me want more of God in my life. It made me want more of his presence, more of his understanding of his word, more understanding of him. I remember he was my first love, that basically there was no love like God's love. And I was determined for him to teach me how to love like that. And I really believe he was teaching me to do that all along. I look at how I was treated by my mom, but I never disrespected her. I never stopped loving her. I never stopped honoring her. I never stopped doing things for her. And even, with my family, even with my husband, I continued to show that love that was not always reciprocated to me. And then we were a part of the ministry for about 14 years. This is different from our childhood ministry where I met him. We decided both to move our membership when I got ready to leave for college. He moved to a different church with his mom. So I decided I'll go ahead and give it a shot, and I tried it out, and that's how we ended up at that ministry. I enjoyed the word. There was nothing wrong with the ministry we were a part of. It was just, I believe that's where God was leading me to go. I would start growing in the word. I started being into it. I started taking more notes. I started getting more involved and more engaged. And I saw myself growing in a way I never even imagined, never thought of. And so I enjoyed it. The ministry partners, the mentors that we had, our pastor at the time, everything was just so encouraging. The first lady, everybody, it was just like we had a conference that we would do, a women's conference. It was one of the first women's conference I had ever attended. And I remember it was in Galveston. And I remember sitting there, and I was like, the minister at the time was calling women up and laying hands and praying. And I had never been in a service like this before. And I was like, she ain't gonna make me pass out. She ain't gonna make me fall down. And so I thought. So she called me up and she spoke some things over my life that only God knew. And basically I remember her saying something to the extent that everything you've been through, God was gonna use for his glory. And only God, I knew God told me that when I was in that room in college, when he said he was going to use my life for his glory, that everything that I had done to destroy myself, that he was going to use it. And so I remember I passed out, like I said I wasn't going to do. And it was like God imparted something so fresh and so powerful in my life at that time that I was like, okay, this is what it means to be a woman of God, a woman of faith, to really walk in his word and really share his word. I got a chance to interact with other women of faith, and we got to sharing our testimony and sharing what we've been through. And I realized, all these years I felt like I was alone. I felt like I was the only one. I wanted to die because I felt like I was the only one suffering. And to find out I wasn't the only one suffering. There were other people going through the similar challenges, similar situations, just like his word says. He says that there are others undergoing the same trials and tribulations you're going through. Just hold fast. They are going through the same thing, and that he was going to use it for his glory. That if you shall reap if you faint not, you shall have if you faint not. You can't quit. You can't give up. So the tenacity and just the zeal and the drive and desire for more of him just drew me more into studying his word, and that's what led me, after my husband had finished getting his degree in the funeral industry, I said, I'm going back to school. I'm finishing my degree. And remember I said, at first I thought I wanted to be an attorney, but I changed it to counseling. Well, I ended up at the College of Biblical Studies studying to be a biblical counselor. And I finished my degree. I graduated summa cum laude with 4 kids, a husband that was cheating, and all these other things, adversities, with my mom not around, family adversity, all of it. God allowed me to finish at the top of my class. And I graduated from there, and from there, I didn't waste any time. I said, no, I'm gonna stay in school. God gave me permission to go get your master's. And so I went ahead, right after I finished my bachelor's degree, receiving my bachelor's degree, I went ahead and got my master's. So I spent the 3 years grinding. I had a goal, I had a focus, I had my degree plan laid out. Every single class I need to take, I went every single semester for the 3 years to finish. And at this time, my children were in school, they had homework, the same responsibilities, nothing changed at home. but I still kept pressing, and God allowed me to build new relationships with classmates and people that are on the same wavelength, that are on the same pathway of life and the same journey with ministry. And so we connected on so many levels. So we had study groups and had opportunities to share our testimonies, the opportunity to share our experiences and kind of grow from one another. And so just really developed this joy. I'm like, unspeakable joy. I mean, when God said his word, the joy of the Lord is your strength, the joy of the Lord became my full strength, because I needed his strength to endure the challenges I was facing. Because it seemed like ever since childhood, everything at home was always chaos and confusion. But when I go out and I do the things that God has purposed for me to do, there was so much joy, there was so much completeness, there was so much laughter, there was so much excitement, and all of those things. And during this time, I'm learning how to be a better mom. I'm learning how to be that godly wife, and in spite of what I was receiving in return. And I never forget one of my professors. I went to him after class and I said, I'm having a hard time with my daughters, because there's some things that she's doing and it really aggravates me, and I don't know what that is, and I don't know how to handle it, how to change this behavior. And so he said to me, he said, that which is basically affecting you, that which is aggravating you, that is the very thing you need to change within yourself, and the things that you don't like about yourself. And I was like, that's not what I expected to hear, but it challenged me to think about that. What is it that I don't like about myself? And these are things I don't want to see be uprooted in my children. I want this thing to stop. And so I began to work on those things, and I began to, like, as I'm studying, I'm basically learning, I'm being counseled through classes to become a better woman, to become a better daughter, to become when I'm saying a daughter of God, a mother and a wife. And so with that, within the years of ministry there, the ministry we were a part of, I grew and grew in the word so much, so that at a point where my husband, he was laid off from working in the ministry, and he, to my knowledge, he had done some things that were like just a disgrace or whatever. I'm not sure what to even call it. But however, no one really told me what he did to be laid off. But yet I knew right before then, God had been speaking, you need to move. Because I wanted my children to have a different foundation. I knew they were getting older, and I needed something more for them. I wanted something more for them. And so I knew we needed a change because of everything we had experienced within the ministry, going to church. It was a constant reminder of the women he was talking to, the women that he was messing with him, whatever the case may be. And I got tired of the repeated reminders and the repeated cycle. And so finally, when he got dismissed, when he was dismissed from his job, we finally were able to move to a new ministry. And that was the greatest life-changing moment for me. And I say this wholeheartedly because the man of God and woman of God that I had prayed for in leadership, I never knew existed. I knew they already existed. I thought I was praying for my previous pastor and first lady, but what I was praying for is where God was actually getting ready to take me to. And under the leadership and Apostle Perry and Lady Perry, we came into this ministry broken. We came to this ministry hurting from what transpired in the previous ministry, and trying to build a new foundation. We had to really, it's like a house having to have the foundation restored. Our foundation needs to be restored in our marriage, in our family, as a woman, as a man, all of it. It needs to be fully restored. And so we came to the ministry, and Apostle, at the time he was a pastor, he was speaking about reclaiming the church. And I never, it's like, like all the light bulbs start going off. Like, this is what that meant back then. And this is a new understanding of God's word, a new understanding. It was like a different teaching style. And a whole new leash on life. That's what it felt like. And God just really began to speak different things about how we ought to be the church and how we ought to not only just be the church. So many things you knew, but to actually apply it was different. And began to grow in the ministry. We were able to go to pastor and talk to him about where we come from and what we were doing. He got a chance to really get to know us. And shortly after, I started kind of serving in the ministry. My husband, he felt like at the time he wanted to basically sit for a while. He felt like he needed to sit for a season because he had been serving for those full pretty much 12 years. He had been serving of the 14 that we were there. And he felt like he needed to kind of just sit and receive the word. And so, but I felt different. I'm like, you need to get on board and serve. But that was between him and God. I knew what my position was, and I was going to serve because I always had a servant heart, and I was not going to stop serving. And so we got busy in ministry, where I did, and I think I started mainly with the intercessory prayer team. That was the first thing. And I started becoming faithful with that. God was doing something in me through the intercessory prayer team. And then shortly after that, I began to be a part of the harvest ministry with new members. And God reminded me of something. That's exactly what I was doing when I first started at the last ministry. And I was a care disciple, which is equivalent to the harvest ministry. So I was like, wow, okay, God is restoring everything. And then a couple years later, a pastor decided to actually, they call it, where he allow you to become a minister. He started, he gave us the ceremony to acknowledge us as ministers. And so when he did that, I was like, I knew God had always called me to the ministry, but in my childhood church, that was not, women did not do that. And you were not a minister, you were an evangelist. And so when a pastor did that, it gave me a sense of, I don't even know what to call it, but it's like a father giving something to a daughter. And I never had that feeling because, like I said, the men in my life had always taken from me. They have always tried to get what they can get from me. But here it was a man of God giving something to me and validating me as a daughter and a daughter in the ministry. And it gave me this sense of validation that I needed and that I longed for, and it meant so much. And so with him and Lady Perry, it was like, okay, here I am. I really felt like an orphan. I didn't have my dad, I didn't have my mom, and thinking about all of this, I asked God to start restoring a relationship with my dad, my earthly father, because I was like, I learned of him when I was 15. And when I learned of him at 15, the way I met him was he was engaged with my mom. Well, not engaged, but interacting intimately with my mom. And I'm like, you're not here for me, you're here for my mom. And I felt so like, okay, this is my dad, okay. And during the time I found out my dad had a drug problem. And so it was just like really like so refreshing to have a man of God in my life that was here to not take advantage of me, to not harm me, not hurt me, not mistreat me, but to really genuinely care for me as a spiritual daughter and make sure I had the word, make sure that I was getting the information I needed to make sure that I was okay. And so after spending some years in the ministry, I had started moving around I had graduated with my master's degree, and I got a job from, I was working with MHMRA, which is for mental health retardation center, now it's called the Harris Center. And so I started working with that job, trying to build up my resume to start eventually becoming a licensed professional counselor and a licensed marriage and family therapist. Well, in the midst of doing that, my husband became very bitter towards my work and everything I do, because it did take a lot of my time. It took a lot of my energy. I was driving all around Houston, Spring, Katy, Webster, you name it. I was all over the city. And it was draining, but I had 30, I believe I had 40 clients to see within 30 days of the month. And within that time period, I asked God, help me to find a strategy so that I can manage my marriage, but yet keep my job. And so I went to a pastor in Lady Perry, asked him to pray over. We would go every Sunday for prayer and making sure that just pray over our businesses and pray over our income. And so after having so much distress with that, God helped me turn a 30-day process into a 15-day process. I saw 40 clients within 15 days, and with each of those clients, I had to do notes, I had to do reports and things like that I had to turn in by a time period. So here I am, finishing up I had just finished up my degree and changing jobs and doing all this stuff, and then finally an opportunity presented itself for me to work at a smaller company, which is 5 minutes from the house. So I'm thinking, okay, this is God. He's hearing my prayer. You know, my marriage is gonna be okay, that kind of thing. And so I go and work for this job for 3 months and get everything up and rolling, doing the opposite of everything I was doing at MHMRA at the time. For their company, and only to discover after doing everything I was supposed to be doing, 3 months later they was laying me off. I had never been laid off on my job, never. If I left a job, it was because I chose and made a decision to leave the job. I have always left on good terms. And so here I am, I'm like, God, I went to a major depression because I'm like, God, I don't have any insurance for my children. I don't have any income coming in. I'm having to fully rely on my husband, and I don't even think my husband is fully committed to me. I need you. I need more of you. And so I started really praying, and I heard God say, go to the church. But I was like, no, I don't want to work for no ministry. I don't want to do none of that, because I know what happened to my husband working in the ministry, and I don't want to lose my zeal and my heart for ministry and serving. I don't want to get, disheartened by working for the ministry. And we went to Bible study one night, and I didn't even make it into the main Bible study. I remember going to drop my kids off in the children's area, and I sat there because they had the lobby area playing the Bible study. And I don't remember what pastor was teaching, but I heard the Holy Spirit saying, stop grieving me. Stop grieving me. And I'm like, Lord, how am I grieving you? Like, don't grieve the Holy Spirit. Like, what am I doing? Because I was not doing what he told me to do. And that next day, I think I called the church and I said, is there anything I can do at the church to serve, to do volunteer, or do something? I have to get off this couch because depression was really taking over me. So I got up off the sofa. They said, yeah, we have some things you can do. I said, I don't care if it's cleaning toilets. I don't care. I want to do something in the ministry. So I got up and I went, and I forgot what assignment I had. I think I went to do something at the GHN, which is our teenage area, to organize some supplies. And from there, I was like, you need me to answer the phone. I started coming up there to answer the front desk phones. And I started doing so much. And then finally, it was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And so I got up and I got offered the opportunity to be the receptionist, and I started answering the phones and helping out while they had the receptionist was temporarily out. I started working as a contractor, and I started doing that. And then I'm still growing in the ministry. I'm still serving. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I'm finding a sense of fulfillment and a sense of work all over again. Being a part of the ministry 24/7, I'm loving it. And so then I got hired as a office office assistant. That was the position title, I think. And I started helping whatever tasks and responsibilities that the ministry had. And I really started enjoying this because I'm like, oh my God, I like doing this stuff. I like administrative things. I can do this. And so even though it wasn't counseling, which my degree was in, it still allowed me the ability to do counseling after hours. And so I started doing some counseling after hours with my biblical counseling degree and certification. And I was counseling a few people. I would go to their homes. I would do outside counseling on the weekends and things like that. So I started really getting busy with doing that. And it was so much joy. God just really began to really teach me more about Him and what He really intended for my life, the purpose I had in life. And at one point where I felt like I meant nothing to anybody, I meant something to Him. And that was, oh my God, that was so amazing to feel validated as that daughter. Like, this is who He created me to be. And so shortly after that, pastor at the time, he started teaching about, he would give this atonement ceremony, but give the word for the year. And the word of the year was, no more brokenness. No more bondage. That's what it was. No more bondage. And I began praying in that service. I said, God, show me the place where I'm bound. Show me where I'm in bondage. And I heard the Holy Spirit speak clear as day. He said to me, you're bound in your marriage. And I'm like, me? I'm bound in my marriage? Like, this is for your glory. This is covenant. I'm doing it. I'm being faithful. I'm being loving. I'm honoring Him as a husband. I am respecting Him as a man of God. I'm doing all these things, but it wasn't that. It was the fact that I was trapped in something greater than what I imagined. And it was the abuse, it was the cycle of confusion, the cycle of infidelity, of how I would get so drained in his extramarital affairs and the things that kept going on, even while we changed ministry. So it was no excuse. Now you have a man of God that holds you accountable, that held both of us accountable, that loved both of us, that's teaching us the word and telling us the truth and all these different things. And yet we're still in the same place dealing with infidelity. And so here I am, still growing in ministry, still serving. Started serving in the children's ministry, started serving in the prison ministry. I went on fire serving for God, because I'm like, no, this is not bringing any peace, but it gives me joy to serve. So I'm going to continue serving. And so by this time, he's like, you need to go back to school, get your doctorate. You need to be asking for more money. You need to do. And I'm like, at the same time, like, are you putting all these demands on me when you don't put these type of demands on yourself? Like, you never worked for corporate America, so you don't understand the logistics of how things work. So, if I can be patient with you, bringing in what you bring in, why can't you be patient with me? And then when you get your money, you do what you want with your money, and you leave me with all the burden of the responsibilities of taking care of the family, the mortgage, the insurance, the basic necessities, the ins and outs. That's not fair. It's not right that I have to bear all this responsibility and bear the pain of you cheating on me, and bear the disrespect and the dishonor of how you treat me. Not feeling beautiful, not feeling worth anything, not feeling like I'm anybody, but yet here I am serving in the kingdom, and there are people that appreciate me. There are people that smile back at me. There are people that tell me that I'm beautiful. There are people that really show me how much they appreciate me, but I'm not appreciated here at home. And then even with serving, I still kept serving, still kept like just trying to share my heart with Him. And it was ministry that has really kept me grounded and kept me from wanting to quit. I wanted to give up so many times. And then God really just started showing me. I said, ask God to show me. Just show me how to do this. I started participating in all the different women activities we had. We went to Dallas for the woman, the TD Jakes conference. And it was the Women Dollars Master's class. And God just was speaking the whole weekend. And I heard him so loud and clear. And it was like, I need you to move. And I said, okay, I'm thinking, okay, you want me to shift my thinking. You want me to shift how I do things. You want me to maybe sleep on the sofa sometimes. I don't know. I'm trying to find understanding of what he's telling me to do instead of just asking him what to do. But I did that for a little while. And then we went, I will never forget, we went to a movie night with the women, and I was making a decision to leave my husband at the time, and I needed God to show me, because I felt like I was really disappointing God if I had gotten a divorce, or if I had left my husband. I felt like I was a disgrace to him in the kingdom, because there were so many people that would look at our relationship and look at our marriage as an example. And I'm like, I'm letting down so many people. I'm letting down myself. I'm letting down God.